All right, what's going on, everybody? So as we know, they just announced Dillon Danis versus Tony Ferguson. Now, I did say in the past, I'm not going to lie, that I wanted to see this fight, but this gives me some concerns if Dillon is even going to box KSI and if he's going to pull out and ruin this whole event. Real quick, before I get into the video, 90% of you guys aren't subscribed, so if you like influencer boxing, UFC, or boxing content, I post 3 to 4 times a week on this channel at least, so make sure you subscribe. Also, I'll be doing my first watch-along live stream at 200 subs, so make sure you subscribe and let me know if you'll be there. I appreciate you. So Dillon Danis has already given a lot of signs that he does not want to show up for this fight. I see him on Instagram grappling instead of boxing, and sure, it could be old footage, but he is definitely training with Alex Pereira for his fight with the jiu-jitsu at least, and he's in an MMA gym even though they said he's focusing on boxing, but apparently not. And this isn't the only thing that's concerning me about his pullout with this Tony Ferguson fight, because he tweeted, "Honestly, don't feel like going to London for one day, fuck that," referring to the press conference that's happening tomorrow. He might just not show up to it, thinking he's Nate Diaz or something. So that's what I realized. I think he just thinks he's Nate Diaz, which I wouldn't really understand. Like, I understand going to London for a day will be annoying, but you're a fighter, bro. That's kind of what they all do when the fights are in London and they live in America. They kind of all do that. And I don't really understand him pulling out the press conference, because the only reason why he's in this fight is because he can build a fight. And he has a personality and he can talk shit. So if he's not going to show up to the pressers, then what's the point of even fighting? Like, seriously, the only reason why you're there is the trash talk. And sure, trash talk on Twitter saying that KSI is on roids, just like Logan and Jake Paul, and all that stuff is cool and all. And I guess calling out KSI for some weird behavior that he had in the past, allegedly, cool, man, but it's a whole nother thing when you're at the press conference, when there's supposed to be a great press conference with you, KSI, Roman Fury, Chase Damore, Foxer G, Waleed Sharks. It's supposed to be a great press conference with a lot of trash talking. So I don't understand any way why you wouldn't show up to the press conference, because I don't really feel like it. If you don't really feel like it, I feel like it's because you're more focused on the Tony Ferguson fight that just got announced. Yes, I do think that Dillon Danis versus Tony Ferguson is more interesting as an actual fight, because as we know, Dillon Danis doesn't even deserve to be in this boxing match with KSI, because Logan Paul beat him comfortably. So KSI's in this whole position where if you don't knock out Dillon Danis, it's an L. It's not even if you lose to Dillon Danis, it's an L. It's if you don't knock him out. And another reason why this is more interesting than the KSI fight is because we see Dillon Danis talking about all these UFC fighters, saying that he would be able to beat him, like Islam, Habib, and all these random fighters. Bone Nickel, I think he called out. But we haven't seen it in a very long time, and I think Tony Ferguson is a
I was going to put him, excuse me.
I actually take back what I said at the beginning of the video. Maybe you guys shouldn't subscribe, because holy shit, that was awful. What I was trying to say is Tony Ferguson should at least be a somewhat fair fight, because he's been on a downfall for the past couple of years on a huge losing streak. So we really don't know where Dillon Danis is at as an MMA fighter at a world-class level. So Tony Ferguson should be a good test, because he was a UFC fighter, and obviously he's very balanced, and he was very, very dangerous at one point. People were talking about Tony Ferguson versus Habib at one point. That was a very serious talk at the time. And also, to be honest, I could just imagine Tony Ferguson's brain-dead energy just bouncing off Dillon Danis' brain-dead energy very well, and I just think the build-up would be great. But the thing is, like, what if Dillon Danis does fight KSI and do Tony Ferguson, like trying to do some crazy shit thinking he's like that? If he gets knocked out by KSI, the Tony Ferguson fight is just done. So I really don't understand this whole thought process, and that's why I think he's going to pull out. That's the problem. Because is he really going to risk the opportunity for him to go back into the octagon to face KSI? I don't think so, man. This is when I start to get concerned, because I'm sure that Misfits let him sign this, but I don't understand it, because if he gets knocked out, then he's not going to be able to fight Tony Ferguson. So unless he's just really confident they could beat KSI for some reason, I don't fucking get it. So yes, I want to see Dillon Danis versus Tony Ferguson more than KSI. But I don't want him to ruin the event either. Like, they couldn't even find an opponent. That's why they had to get Dillon Danis. So I don't really believe that they have a backup opponent. And if it is a backup opponent, it's not going to be good if they thought Dillon Danis is a better idea than the backup opponent. Unless they just knew that there was just a build-up aspect of this and he was going to pull out and they knew that ahead of time. But I don't know, because they have KSI saying he can't pull out of this fight because of the Logan Paul lawsuit. Maybe GFL is paying him. So I don't know, dude. This is just not looking good. And if KSI just not fighting on this card, the card will go down in quality quite a bit. I do think it is a very good overall card. I'm not switching up on that. But the part of the reason is KSI versus Dillon Danis, because the slight chance that Dillon actually engages in this fight, it should be cool. But I just know in the back of the head, he's either going to pull out or he's just going to not engage like the Logan Paul fight. So it's just a very tricky, weird situation overall. I might as well speak on how I think this fight will go between Danis and Ferguson. As we know, Dillon is a world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner. He talks about it 24/7. And we see it on his Instagram, even though he's supposed to be in a boxing camp. But anyways, we're past that. And Tony Ferguson is known for being very unorthodox, including his grappling, with very unique ankle picks back in the day, very unique strikes, and all of that. So it should be a very entertaining grappling matchup, but I probably would favor Dillon Danis, and he'll probably win by submission. I get to see Tony Ferguson doing one of those crazy roll ankle picks, and then Dillon just will be ready for it and get his neck or something like that. It could be a quick fight, and yes, it would be great for Dillon Danis' name if he could get a win in MMA and easily against Tony Ferguson and show that he's actually dangerous on the ground in jiu-jitsu, because it was a bit embarrassing for him to fail a takedown against Logan Paul, even though he had boxing gloves on. Pretty embarrassing. So he definitely needs to show that he's still on the same level in the jiu-jitsu world, and the Tony Ferguson fight should be a good one. So that's why I think it's a great fight. It will be a great build-up, and it should be a great fight. Even seeing Dillon deal with Tony Ferguson's unorthodox striking would be interesting, in my opinion. So yeah, man, this announcement got me concerned that he's about to ruin this Misfits 21 main event. Let me know if you guys agree down below. Also, let me know if you agree that Tony Ferguson versus Dillon Danis is actually a pretty good MMA fight in the GFL. So that's all I really have to talk about today. I'll be making my video on the Misfits press conference tomorrow, so expect to upload tomorrow. Whether Dillon Danis is there or not, it doesn't matter. So yeah, man. Thank you guys for listening to me yap like usual. God bless every single one of you, and peace out.